What's up, my comic comrades? This weekend, Birds of Prey and the Fantabulous Emancipation of One Harley Quinn hit theaters. And for those interested, you can find our review of the film right here. But the movie's primary villain is Roman Sionis, aka Black Mask, being played by Ewan McGregor. And whether you loved him or hated him in the movie, there's no question he's awesome in the comics. I mean, the man is a ruthless mob boss who is the leader and creator of the False Face Society, who takes extreme joy in torturing his victims in all sorts of sadistic ways. But we'll touch on that later. There's one instance in particular that's extremely gross and twisted. Anyway, Black Mask first appeared in Batman issue 386 in August of 1985 and was created by Doug Munch and Tom Mandrake. The man who would become Black Mask is Roman Sionis. When Roman was delivered, the doctor dropped him. From that day on, people said there was something strange in Roman's eyes, a certain dullness which never fully concealed the burning. But besides that, he was apparently fine, even though we know that's not true because he goes full supervillain years later. Anyway, Roman was born to a wealthy Gotham family who owned Janus Cosmetics. His parents were those stereotypical rich snobs who only care about their looks and social standing. Because of this, Roman wasn't a priority. In fact, this is why Roman's family didn't sue the doctor for dropping him, as his mother was like, I don't want a common lawsuit to slander the Sionis name. Yup, with parents like that, this kid had no shot. Definitely gonna end up being a supervillain. Growing up, Roman's parents wore masks of politeness or courtesy for similar families of wealth and influence. Among these families were the Waynes. His parents essentially liked to schmooze with other rich families to gain social status. But besides that, isn't it crazy that Roman and young Bruce had playdates when they were kids? Talk about coming full circle. Sometime after this, when Roman was 12 years old, he was taken on his first camping trip. But it wasn't a normal camping trip where you're sitting in a tent. This was at their luxurious country estate. This is also when Roman would become obsessed with masks. As he was wandering the woods, he came upon a cute little raccoon, who he said was trapped in a lifelong mask, because they look like bandits from those old black and white movies. Anyway, when he went to pet the raccoon, it bit him, causing Roman to have hallucinations, because the raccoon had rabies. Don't worry, his parents are rich, so they flew in the best doctors to cure him. When Roman was 21, he became an employee at his father's cosmetic company, where he started from the bottom, but eventually worked his way to vice president. It was not long after this that Roman fell in love with a young model named Cersei, who was auditioning for Janus Cosmetics. But since Roman's parents still owned the company, they were like, yeah, we forbid you from associating with a lower class woman like her, so we're gonna fire her even though you just hired her. But remember, there's a dullness behind Roman's eyes, and he didn't have the best childhood because his parents were crap, and now they're telling him he can't be with the woman he loves. But instead of freaking out, he pretended to accept this decision from his parents and said, very well, father and mother, I suppose you're right. Good night. But after that, he thought to himself, but it was just a mask. Meaning he was clearly just saying that to appease his parents. And this proves to be the last straw, as the following summer he burned and killed his parents in a fire. Shortly after his parents' death, Roman took over his parents' company and even refurnished the company's office, one of which he used as a showroom for his new obsession, masks. That's right, he started collecting masks from all around the world. This obsession would blend into his work. You see, he said the invisible approach to cosmetics is old hat. If we're selling something, it should be tangible, visible. It's the mask that's important, not the face. The mask must be seen. Roman uses Cersei to demonstrate this new makeup line, which basically looks like face paint or something Gem and the Holograms would wear. Needless to say, this product line failed as no one wanted to look like they got their face painted at a carnival. So Roman greenlit a waterproof makeup line one of his research and development guys was working on, but he did so prematurely before they could make sure it had no side effects. Long story short, it did have side effects, giving women rashes, causing the skin to peel off their faces. Needless to say, this almost caused the company to go bankrupt. This caused Roman to accept a bailout from Wayne Enterprises, but only if Roman would give up control of Janus Cosmetics and allow Wayne Enterprises to hire a brand new board of directors. And it just keeps getting worse because during all this, Cersei left him. Having a crappy childhood and losing control of his company and his woman walking out on him caused Roman to snap, like full blown this time. So he goes into his father's crypt, as he still blames everything on them, and started smashing his father's casket with a rock out of pure anger and hate. And when he breaks through the casket, he says it reveals a mask of death, created by the loss of face to fire maggots. That's dark. Roman then takes a piece of his father's casket and carves a mask out of it, cause you know, he's crazy. He then gathers several things from his home, like a gun, some cash, and of course his entire mask collection, as well as the remaining jars of the defective waterproof makeup. He then made his debut as Gotham's newest crime boss, Black Mask. After this, Roman easily gains followers from Gotham's underworld, eventually creating the False Face Society. Every member wore a different mask that Black Mask himself said would recreate the warriors' personalities into something stronger. What I'm saying is the False Face Society is a gang, but also a cult. Early on, Black Mask would take his defective waterproof makeup and put it inside of a mask, then put the mask on someone, which in turn greatly disfigured them when they removed the mask. He even kidnapped Cersei and forced her to wear a mask that was laced in the defective makeup, which spared her life but would permanently disfigure her face in the process. He then made her join him and gave her a mannequin mask to intentionally mock her former life as a model. That's just all fucked up. The physical torture, then the mental torture. I'm telling you, read some Black Mask stories. The guy is crazy and it's a bloody body horror and torture. It's freaking nuts. Anyway, in his first storyline, he would eventually be stopped by the Bat. The two were fighting in Roman's old house when a fire broke out and Batman tripped Roman with a batarang, causing him to fall, at which point a burning beam fell on his head. Batman, of course, lifted the beam off of him and drug Roman out. But when he flipped Roman over, it's revealed that the flames burned the mask into his face, ironically giving Roman his wish of getting rid of all traces of Roman. Of course, after this, he was sent to Arkham Asylum. And that, my friends, is Black Mask's origin. As for his powers and abilities, well, he doesn't have any superhuman abilities. However, he is a criminal mastermind and is actually considered the top strategist and organizer in Gotham's underworld, which says a lot considering you have the likes of other mobster characters in Gotham like Two-Face and the Penguin. He's also a torture master. He's been known to torture people into insanity. It's literally considered to be his best skill. Point in case, he once tortured Catwoman's sister by chaining her up and forcing her to watch him torture and kill her husband. Sounds horrible, right? That's not the worst part. He then forced her to eat her husband's remains. He's also great in hand-to-hand combat and a master marksman, and of course, a master of disguise. So much so, he's even been able to fool Batman with some of his disguises. Which is crazy because world's greatest detective. But with all that said, it's time for some reading recommendations, as I'm sure a lot of you are going to want to read some Black Mask stories. And my recommendation for you is one trade paperback. Check out Batman Arkham Black Mask. It's a 239-page trade that collects like 5 different Black Mask stories. So technically that alone is all you need to jump in. And that's going to bring today's episode of Variant to a close. If you enjoyed today's Black Mask episode, be sure to check out this one right here. And if you like our videos, be sure to subscribe. But I'll see you guys next time when we talk about all things comics.